You were saying that there's certain questions that you want to ask me. You tell me what the questions you want me to ask.
So most people don't know what are the bones of a party. How do you get started? Because most people stop before they really get started. So
Jeannie, what are the bones of starting a party?
That might be what she had in mind.
Hi everyone, my name is Ray, or some of you might know me as Tiki with Ray, and today I am in the Bamboozled Bungalow in Tangletown, Seattle. Mm-hmm. I'm here with my good friends Tom and Jeannie, very knowledgeable Tiki friends that I have. And if you know Tom and Jeannie, you know about the massive parties that they have put on over the years. Like stories of legends. And
cautionary tales.
Cautionary tales.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's actually a picture out there of me line dancing with a cocktail cup in my mouth while I'm doing the thing. You've seen the picture,
Yes.
So yeah, I've had some fun times at Tom and Jeannie's parties. And we were talking the other day. We're talking about, like, wouldn't it be cool to do a talk about party planning? Like, say you're thinking about putting on a tiki party. What are the do's and don'ts? And if there's anyone who knows that information, it's you two. So this is probably going to be a 2-part episode. The first part's going to focus in on the core, the planning, the basics of it. And then eventually it'll go into more of the cocktails and everything with that.
And there's some other details too, probably.
There's going to be details about everything. So someone's like, okay, I want to do a tiki party.
Okay.
What's the first thing they got to do? Where do we go? What's the first step?
All right. Well, just like any good tiki bar, it's all about story.
It's all about story.
It's all about story.
Okay.
So we usually don't have just a generic tiki party. We normally have a tiki party that has a secondary theme.
Yes.
Something that really interests us that we can dig into, because every decision we make goes back to that theme.
Yeah.
So if you were going to do like what people might consider to be a standard tiki party, it might be a castaway party, or a beach party, like a Funicello horror party beach kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or
that was a good one.
It was a good party. Beach blanket back out. Yeah, that was awesome.
No, you did a party that was that.
Oh yeah, we
Beach
had
blanket
people
blackout,
rescuing the blow up dolls. Marvel Ann got her time on screen.
Actually, Marvel Ann sprung a couple of leaks. That was speaking of the cautionary tale end of that.
Yeah, blow up things are always a trouble. But having a secondary theme. So like we've done stuff like Party on Monster Island. And had a blow up gorilla on our roof.
I've seen pictures of it.
Yes.
And that thing was big.
And everything in that party was Party on Kong Island. So the food was all related to it. Huge beef bones that people would wander around and gnaw on. Everybody came as their favorite monster. So we had kaijus all over the place. We had a particularly good Mothra, and she even had like little puppets on her fingers to be the two twins from
Masura.
Yes.
Me and my buddy Jason Craig, we are literally going through all the Godzilla movies in order.
Oh
yeah.
So we're in the 80s now. Why the combination of the two themes?
So what we discovered was when you have a generic party, that's what you get. You get a generic party. But when you add a secondary theme on top of it that people can buy into, people can play with, that you get a lot more involvement. And then that also informs your other choices. Like, so when we did the Spy Layer party, one of the big focuses of that party was that we managed to do a drink luge. And it was backlit, and it was... And you had all the ingredients around it so that people could compose their drink. It would shoot down through the luge and come out the bottom. Now, this had its own effects on the party because people were combining all sorts of interesting things. But what that did was it gave us a focal point. And so what you want to do is figure out for your party, what's your focal point going to be in? Are you going to put your money into your entertainment that year? Are you going to put your big money into something like a drink luge? Are you going to put your big money into the food that year?
Yeah.
Are you going to bring in a band?
Though that wasn't big money. That was probably one of the best stunts we pulled off on a shoestring. I got a $64 300-pound block of ice from Allied. And an engineering friend with an 18-inch auger drill did all the luge carving. So it was insanely cheap. And then I just had a DJ light box behind it to project like a fire and ice.
So it looked like we spent hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, it looked spectacular, but in fact it was, I don't know.
Yeah, and so you have to figure out what you're
$70
doing. So like we've done
tops.
Space Tiki, where all of the decoration in a darkened area is activated by black light.
Oh, yes.
And
Also cheap.
Yeah, and people came as their favorite aliens.
Yeah, it looks pretty tawdry. I turned the regular lights back on, but
the minute you turn on that black light, boom!
Yeah.
It was magic. And then we've done other things where one of our big fundraisers, where we decided let's do something for good, and so we did a Hell in the Pacific World War II tiki. So the entertainment was all based in the 40s. We had the Andrews sisters pop up. We had a honey bun number and a few other things come from South Pacific that appeared when people were least expecting it. The USO mobile unit was involved with us, and we treated it as a fundraiser to help the USO at that year. We found when we have that secondary theme or something that's a hinge pin that holds everything together, then that is where the basis of our research goes in. So we'll figure out a theme that interests us, and then we will do extensive research on that period, that thing, that movie, that genre, and we'll incorporate those things all through the party. They'll be in the food, they'll be in the drinks, it'll be in all the decorations. It'll be in, so we have friends that are game designers. And so we have an icebreaker that when people show up, there's frequently a card game where you have to get to know the other people in the party. Because everybody knows that when you have a party, people who already know each other clump together and they don't interact.
Mix.
So we find ways to force people to interact with one another, whether it is a photo op. So like this last year's party was the Adventurers Club.
Yes, I was there.
We brought the Adventurers Club to life. We had the full stage show that they do in the club. We had the characters that were wandering around the club in the party, doing things, interacting with the guests. Our friends that were the staff that helped make everything go. We're actually dressed as staff. When we research, we deeply research. Like, for example, an upcoming party that we're working on is a cruise on the Matson lines.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
And so the Matson lines, as you know, the white ships were a thing from the 1930s on through the late 70s, where it was pretty much your major way of getting to Hawaii.
Yep.
So you boarded a Matson line in San Francisco, and you cruised to Hawaii. And then they had other ports of call that would go off with that. So, for example, if I'm going to research something, I'm going to go into the world beyond, and I'm going to find the information. So, these are some of the menus that were on the actual Matson lines. And
those are the actual menus?
These are the actual menus.
Where did you get those at?
The internet is my friend.
Wow.
So when you find a theme you want to do something for, it's like the party on Kong Island. We went and watched all of the King Kong movies again.
Even the one from the 70s where he goes on top of the World Trade Center.
All of them. And you got to have Jessica Lange. I mean, really. She's so, but you go back and you research the thing that you want to do. And then it's going to give you other ideas around the side of, okay, so they're really famous for their menus, so of course the menu's going to come out of that. But the other options are, so how did they entertain their guests? How did they, are they famous for a specific drink?
Yeah.
Are they, what ports of call did they go to? So every single theme that you can pick is going to give you more open doors of how you can enrich your party.
You'd think that the extra structure would add limitations. In fact, in some ways, it makes it easier to expand out and it helps you put it together and gives everybody a framework in which to play, which seems to work better than having a more nebulous.
Yeah, people like having jobs.
Yeah.
People like having something specific, so they know what to do. If you give people an opportunity to play and give them a framework, then they're more likely to play.
Yeah.
And they don't wander around. And also, we program the time so that, we know in what hours we're going to be doing greeting icebreaker games, and what part of the evening we're going to move to food. Then we're going to focus on the cocktail. Then we're going to focus on if we're bringing a band or doing a show. And it all ties together with the theme we've chosen.
Gotcha.
So, food, sometimes you get lucky, like the next thing I'm working on, there are menus to pull from where it's famous and you can easily understand what you're working with. Other times, the thing that might be famous is the cocktails. And, so for Adventurers Club, there were some specific cocktails they have at the Adventurers Club.
Yeah.
And Tom and I easily found those recipes. And there are recipes that weren't right and recipes that were right. So some of our parties coming up to our parties, we're getting together with friends and trying out stuff. We try out menu items, we try out cocktails, and then Tom will go off on a tangent. Often. And he will create a curated bar list for every party. We're talking like not one or two cocktails. We're talking like a dozen cocktails. We do something similar with food and menus.
Yes.
So like I employ a system called Mise en place.
What?
Mise en place.
It's
like those, when I give you a term every time you do one of these. So my term for the day, the German term mise en place.
Is that your German accent?
It means everything in its place.
Everything's in its place.
And so I'm really good at knowing what should be in there.
Yeah.
Luckily, Holly Brazell is in my life.
Yeah.
And she is able to project manage, and she's helped throughout the years. And we've had others step up who are culinarily very skilled. And we're able to, we figure out what recipes we want to do. You take a timetable and you work backward from when you want to serve it. And then you break down all of the steps that you're going to need to make that dish or that table happen. So we know when hot dishes have to be started, when dishes have to be transferred to other things. And it's done in an organizational system called a mise en place sheet, which they employ in restaurants.
I guess there's factors that you got to know about your party, like right off the bat, okay, well, how many people are coming?
Mm-hmm. And that's harder than you think these days.
Is there any dietary restrictions? And I guess these are all things that have to be taken into
dietary restrictions, allergies, how many people, what style of meal are you doing? Are you doing a buffet line? Are you doing a large single pot main dish with a bunch of really interesting additions that your guests can add individually? Are you doing canapes? Word to the wise, unless you really want to kill yourself, limit your canapes.
What's a canapé?
A canapé is an appetizer. So those single portion appetizer things that go around all these parties, I'd say probably 60% of the work that happens in the kitchen coming up on a major party is figuring out those individual handable treats that go out on trays.
And they're convenient to eat at the party, but they're also very fussy to make normally, and it takes a lot if you're trying to feed people, and they'll go through a number of them.
And frequently they combine hot and cold, or food preservation, knowing what's safe and how long you can leave something out, how you're going to treat that food, or is it going to be sitting in a boat full of ice? Is it going to be served on an ice sheet pan? Is it going to be kept over 125 degrees in a crock pot? All of those plans are part of the mise en place sheet, so that you know what's going to be handled where and for how long.
But what you're saying when it comes to appetizers, take in consideration, like,
be gentle with yourself. Don't do more than two or three.
It's gonna be time consuming.
Yeah.
That's a
and
lesson.
they're gonna go quick, obviously, when you're serving them. So I guess that is another thing that you got to figure out too. Is like, All right, what help am I going to
Yeah,
have?
if someone asks,
How much help
you
do you
should,
need?
You should have a list.
And then who is going to help you? Mm-hmm. And then I'm guessing that
And
you,
so
you
when-
probably have to take in consideration too.
When
It's
you're
like,
talking about guest lists and how many people are you having, in today's world, that is the hardest piece of the puzzle.
Oh my God.
We can have people who will swear, honest to God, that they're coming, they're going to be there by a specific time, and they're bringing a thing,
yeah,
and they'll totally ghost out on you. So you have to have your backup plan and your emergency backup plan and your inflatable emergency backup plan behind that. For what are you going to do if the guy who's bringing the gin is not coming? And they don't tell you.
Or something even more key. I mean, you could in theory run to the grocery store and fix that one. If someone is bringing something that you don't want guests to, you don't want people to volunteer or suggest things that are linchpins in your menu, because life happens.
yeah.
And you don't want to be caught flat-footed. Yeah,
Yeah, because that can be bad. And
it's happened.
So what you're saying is like when it comes to the important ingredients, the important foods, the important drinks, you handle that yourself.
Yes.
Yes.
If it's
Or unless you have
mission
some-
critical, you need to make sure that's done
Right.
in-house.
And I was gonna say, like, even like when it comes to like your help that you're gonna have, I'm sure you have like, okay, I know this person. They're on the spot. They'll be here. This person's a little flaky. They might show up. They might not. This one, they say they're gonna help, but I guess you probably take that in consideration too. Let's talk about money, because I'm sure that is one thing right off the top. Mm-hmm. Okay, how much money do we have?
Yeah, so you need to set a budget of what you're willing to put out and be happy doing.
Yeah.
Because if you have pulled yourself over the line and spent more than you really want to,
Yeah.
then you're going to be overly committed to other people's behavior. We've done Blue Hawaii before,
Yeah.
where it was an Elvis party. We brought in a band. Not only did we bring in a band, we made custom shirts for that band so that they would match our party. That band gave dedicated time to learning an Elvis repertoire to add to that party. Pieces from Blue Hawaii. The food was specific to the Hukilau scene in Blue Hawaii. The all of the giveaways. So at every party, there's a giveaway.
Yeah.
So like hanging above you are kukui nut and shell lays, for example. When we would greet our guests at the door, there's usually a goodie or a lay or something that
Yeah.
you walk away from the party from. Adventurers Club had the pin where, you go through the membership ceremony, you walk away with the pin. There's usually a giveaway. You need to figure out how much you want to spend on that and how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Whether it's scouring every thrift store from here to BC for every shell lay they've got so that you have enough shell lays for all your guests, that's a time commitment instead of money commitment.
Yes.
Then the money that you didn't spend on the shell lays could be rolled towards your band, for example. Bands are never cheap. Finding
No.
entertainment is never ever cheap. So when you have a party that has that component to it, you need to plan way in advance for it.
Oh yeah.
Every band has got a schedule. Not every band is going to want to work a private party, so you're going to be spending a lot of time and effort researching that. Tom chased down some of our very first bands, and we got really lucky. And
Yes, we did.
Well, as a musician myself, I mean, it's like, so right off the bat, like, say you're like, hey, Ray, I want your band to play our party. First question I'm asking is there a PA system? Are you providing a PA system?
and
Or do
over-
we need
yeah.
to bring a PA system?
And so for
What's
that
the
question-
stage setup going to be?
Yeah. So when we were building, for example, since I have worked in voiceover technology and other
Yeah.
things like that, we're one of those rare instances where there is a sound system
Yeah.
and a full board and that sort of thing. That has been assembled over time. So the kind of parties that we're throwing, there's a steep learning curve for.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't throw a good tiki party. You have to have the essentials. You have to have a really nice curated bar list that's doable, that won't flatten your bartender. I mean, Tom has looked like a damp rag at the end of a bunch of our parties because he'll actually crank out drinks all night. And we have other friends who will help him occasionally. And we've, in some large parties, had a whole staff of bartenders. But how are you going to work your drinks? Are you going to have call drinks? How many
No.
of those?
No.
How many of
No.
those call drinks are you going to do? Your bar list. How much of it is going to be done as presets in a punch bowl or tap?
Yeah.
What are your skills? Play to your strong suits. Are you a good cook? Maybe your parties will have more food.
Yeah.
Are you a good bartender? Are your parties going to have a larger drink list? Do you have a lot of musician or actor friends?
Yeah.
Or then your parties are going to probably focus on entertainment. We always include our guests. So our guests are highly interactive people who want to costume.
Yeah.
They don't want to sit in corners. They want to play. So that's why we incorporate things like costume contests and games, and so that you are not just sitting there in a corner with your cocktail trying to entertain yourself. We have taken charge of your evening.
Okay, so far we talked about the basic planning, knowing the supplies that you need, knowing the amount of people that are going to be coming to the party, knowing the amount of people that are going to help with you, knowing the amount of money that you're going to have. The next thing we're going to talk about in the next episode is the decor and then the drinks and the food, like the meat of it, no pun intended.
So to speak.
Yeah, so everyone out there, stay tuned for part 2 on, what do you want to call it, party planning?
Epic tiki party planning.
Epic
Epic,
tiki
okay.
party planning. Or so it'd be like, like in the epic tiki party planning. Want to support the Tiki with Ray show and look cool doing it at the same time? Then head over to tikiwithray.com and buy yourself a Tiki with Ray shirt. They're only $20. Tony Canepa did the design, and they're screen printed in America. How did you and Tom get into Tiki? What made you decide to start parties?